Captain's Log Supplemental. Today was super lame. No, that was super lame. Come on, be cool. Captain's Log Supplemental. The Penwicians have left, finally. Now you sound desperate. No, hold on. Okay. All right, breathe. Captain's Log Supplemental. The Penwicians... Wait, Penwicians? Penwicians? Penwician? No, Penwicians. Yeah, Penwicians. Okay, Captain's Log Supplemental. The Penwicians have left, and the crew seems relieved to see them go. Their naturally evolved telepathy made everyone on the ship feel uncertain and... Uncertain? Yeah, uncertain. Now the word feels weird. Uncertain. Yeah, shit. Captain's Log Supplemental. They left. End of log, I guess.
Hello, and welcome back for another episode of Captain's Log Supplemental. My name is Rob Beach. As always, I'm joined by my two close friends, Matthew Stanford.
Hello.
And Chris Emmerich.
Hey, yo.
So today's episode was episode 11, Cold Front. We opened... I forgot the whole...
Sure did. Sure did. No, it's okay, Rob. I'll just do that part. Hey, everybody. Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and all that stuff, because we need 5-star reviews, and Rob is too nervous to ask you for them, so I'll take care of it.
I will not beg. Or maybe I will. When I remember to. Okay. So we opened today's episode with one of our Suliban friends. I think the guy on the table was Silic. Is
yes.
that who that's supposed to be? Okay.
Yes.
Correct. That's what I thought. When I first started watching the episode again, I was like, oh man, we haven't seen them in like 10 episodes. I don't remember his name. So Silic is strapped down to what looks like a time dialysis machine. Diversion straight into the body horror with the needle to the eye, which pairs super well with some Faith of the Heart.
So, and before Faith of the Heart, like, it's got to be hard to do precise medical procedures in the weird warpy time rooms, right?
Right?
I know, they're all like the frame dragging. Like, it's almost impossible to maintain a steady hand like normally in really tense situations. I can't imagine having to do it with like all the time warping nonsense happening around me.
Also, what exactly were they like accomplishing there? Like, what were they doing?
So Archer, I think he brings it up later on in the episode. It seems like the Suliban are trading their services for genetic upgrades.
Sure. Yeah, I know that part.
Do you think, like, spoiler alert, do you think they were doing, like, the cosmetic surgery to make him look like that thing?
But he, like...
No, he, like, warps out of that later.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because I thought that's what it was at first, because, like, obviously I've seen this one before. And I was trying to remember, like, what exactly they were accomplishing there. But he, like, seems to have all of his, like, power stuff. Like, he still, like, gets all smooshy and...
Maybe
and changes his shape. And
did he have the shapeshifter ship before? Maybe that's what they were giving him.
Maybe. I thought they were taking something away, though. He was like, you're disabling me or something.
Punished?
Yes.
Maybe punishment to them is just a random needle job to the brain. Like, that does sound very uncomfortable.
They took away his time eye, so now he can only see things in the present.
Yeah, that's what it was. We'll go with that.
Sure. Okay.
Sure. So, yeah, we get some Faith of the Heart right after, which just seemed super inappropriate after that situation. And dive straight into Travis complaining to Hoshi about their movie night. So, like, I think this is the first episode where they don't start eating food. Like, start with them eating food. Instead, they're just complaining about the night of the Killer Androids movie they had to watch together.
I like how Hoshi held the elevator door for him, which is so... Like, my immersion was completely shattered. People don't do that.
What are you talking about? I live in Missouri. People do that all the time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I work in a hospital. It was also a standard operating procedure to be nice to people.
No, that's unacceptable. But yes, apparently, like, was it like they said they had like 50,000 movies in the database, and they had to pick that one. 50,000 doesn't seem like a lot of movies,
Right? Compared to like, well, this is like before like streaming services and everything. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I have that.
right? I think I looked up that like Amazon has like 37 or 40,000 movies available on it. I think those are the free movies.
Mm-hmm.
So do they store the movies in like Enterprise's data banks, or do they like stream it over the subspace?
I mean, at this point, I would have to think they stored them in the databanks.
Yeah, I don't, especially since it's a movie. Like, I imagine by the year 22, whatever this is, like, movie files are so small compared to their normal stuff that they can just have that database with them, right?
Oh, that's true. They probably got some killer compression. Anyway, so incredibly, Enterprise's scanners can pick up ships like light years away and discern them from the background noise of a stellar nursery. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Right before this, by the way, I wanted to note that I think for the first time in this show, Reed showed some emotion other than tight ass. He made a little joke. I thought that was nice.
I don't even remember him making a joke.
Yeah, what joke
It was barely a joke.
Oh.
He was talking to Hoshi and Mayweather as they came on the bridge, and he's like, how about that movie, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's his form of a joke.
But, yeah.
His character is very strange.
His character, I feel like his character is like whatever the writers need this week.
Yeah, he's just kind of like
certainly at this
fill
point
in the conversation.
Yeah, not a lot of dialogue from him. Sorry, you were saying Stellar Nursery.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, they managed to, like, discern that ships existed light years away, like, amidst a stellar nursery. So they decide to pay them a visit. When they get there, Archer calls up one of the ships, Captain Fraddock.
Hold on. We're just going to gloss over the most advanced piece of technology that has ever been seen in Star Trek.
What's that?
Did y'all see that crazy-ass salt shaker he was using?
No.
Oh my god.
That.
Oh my god. It was like a long stick with a ball at the end, and he picked the stick up by the top and then like waggled it back and forth over his food. It's like the most rich person salt shaker that you could possibly. I don't even know how you load it. It probably gets loaded at the factory and then you just throw the fucker away when you're done. Like, it was the weirdest goddamn salt shaker.
So he's on a ship with a whole bunch of religious folks on it. Like, what if that was their what's the thing in Catholic ceremonies that holds like the
BO of Christ? I don't know what that thing is.
There's a word for it. I can't think of what it is.
It's the frankincense or the myrrh or whatever. Fucking the smoky lantern shit that always makes my mother-in-law cough.
Incense?
There you go. Yes. That's what it is.
Well, that's what's inside it. There is a name for the vessel itself.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep, I knew that name at one point, but it's escaping me at the moment.
I do as well. My in-laws are going to kill me for not remembering that, but that's okay.
It's all right. We no longer have any Catholics listening to us, thanks to me. So,
this Captain Fraddock
Censor
is not a censor. That's it. Yes, thank you.
So they use their sensors.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Sensor Wielder is not entertained by Archer's conversational phone call.
Oh my god, that guy was so fucking funny because he's like, "Can I help you? I'm doing my job right now." Like,
I did enjoy it.
It was so great.
And I think that he's a good example of like the difference between the humans who are like new to this and the species that have like clearly been out and about for a while. Cause this guy's like, can y'all calm the fuck down? This is my day job.
It's just like some random dude just pulled up to like some trucker. Like, hello, we would like to make peaceful contact with you. I'm like, I gotta take a shit.
Yeah. He's the equivalent of a trucker that watches a grown ass adult doing that like pumping arm motion to blow the horn.
It was. He's probably like my favorite of all of the bit characters that we've seen so far.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah. Fucking Godspeed, transport dude. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, while Archer, clearly didn't win Braddock over, he did convince some of the celebrants to like go on board the Enterprise and share pleasantries, right? So they show up on Enterprise and they give Archer a clock that throughout this entire episode he never figures out how to read.
Yeah, I have this note at the very end, but it'll work here. Why would he expect to ever learn how to read it? It's a clock based on the time of a planet he's never been to.
Right. Like, I know we kind of touched on this. Like, stardates are a weird thing, and I know how they're explained kind of changes throughout, like, even the original series as it goes on. But yeah, like, if you don't have any frame of reference,
right,
you'll never be able to figure it out.
And like, Archer doesn't even use stardates. If you listen to his like log entries, it's like January such and such, 22, 20, like he uses like Gregorian dates.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that before.
Yeah. Listen to the next episode or whatever when he makes a log. Like he always uses Gregorian dating.
So the second gift was that booze? Like,
yes.
I know they said that it would enhance the experience. Okay,
totally sacraments.
I think it's kind of like sacramental wine, like, or
gotcha.
like the just to be egalitarian here, like, or the big old bottle of sweet Jewish wine that you bust out once a year on Passover so you can dip your fingers. Yeah.
Manischewitz?
Yes, exactly.
So I did appreciate, though. So the celebrants said that, they specifically normally fast during this time, but they were like happy to share a meal with the crew of the Enterprise. So like it was nice kind of seeing the welcome interaction returned by people, because I feel like up till now, the one thing I do have to feel bad about Archer for is like he always tries to be jovial, and I feel like everyone always shuts him down.
Yeah, but like for the humans on this part of the interaction, because the aliens were like, they're doing their best, but they're here for a reason, right? The humans are so fucking awkward for people who are literally out here to meet aliens. Like, right. That's their job. And they're like, right.
On Earth, the traditional greeting is typically a handshake. Now watch me hold my arm weird.
Which is funny because like, even back in 2001, that wasn't true. Like, there were more people in Asia than there are in Europe and America and whatnot, and they don't shake hands as a traditional greeting. So, like, no, it's not. like, stop.
Yeah, it's that.
And he doesn't have to act like it's so weird to, like, oh my God, what, they don't want to shake hands? What do I do? I don't understand. Like, fucker, there are people on Earth who don't shake hands. What are you doing?
So we learn that the celebrants are here, like, to see the stellar nursery. Part of their religion states that this is where the universe began, and there's like this cyclical, like, blast of radiation. Like, I think it's like a plasma discharge. I can't remember exactly what it was, and I should have written it down, but I didn't write it down.
I think it's like a pulsar or something like that.
It's from a pulsar. It's some type of, oh gosh, I don't know, some emission,
some sort of large burst of energy from like a star type thing that happens every 10-ish years. Yeah. I guess they have like they have like an exact date, but they don't know the exact time on that day it'll fall. Right.
Just it's kind of like Old Faithful. There's a window of opportunity there.
Sure.
Okay.
So they refer to it as the Great Plume of Agasauria. Phlox, as it turns out, has spent a ton of time studying Earth religions, as well as Vulcan, while on Earth. So, like, he starts referencing like Hinduism, Eastern Orthodoxy. I thought that was like kind of a neat little touch. He's always pleasantly surprising. Like, he just likes to study things.
I do like that part of Phlox's character. He's very kind of immersive in other races, cultures, and I think that's a good perspective to have.
I think the best way to think about it is like Phlox is an anthropologist. That's what he is, in addition to being like a physician. So like he definitely like he's always very interested in like what people are doing, you know?
Yeah. Like I still remember it was one of the earlier episodes. Like I knew I was gonna like him when he's like, yeah, one of my favorite parts about Earth was Chinese food. I was like, oh, I get it.
Who doesn't like Chinese food?
So yeah, we switch back to Reed, who's worried that someone is going to steal his guns. So Malcolm decides to leave the bridge and leave Travis in command. And I think this is the first time that Travis has been in command of the bridge. So after some egging on from Hoshi, he decides to take the captain's chair for a spin. And he's got the most wholesome look of excitement I have ever seen on a human being's face.
Then Reed
Just
spoils
pure
it
joy.
like a dick.
Yeah.
Oh, but he made another joke though.
He did. That's
He
true.
did.
That joke I remember.
So Trip gives us, as well as the celebrants, a recap on Stanford's warp theory lesson from last week. Is that what made you think about this?
No, what made me think about it was that they were hauling dilithium in that last episode. But when I was looking all this information up, this episode kept getting cited as like the place where we found out this information. So like,
crazy.
I did not know it was the next episode when I was looking that information up. So that was just a nice coincidence.
That's really funny.
I appreciate the like the like oh sweetie look that the aliens were all giving him because they all clearly know more about warp drives than he does.
Yeah. I like that they were humoring him, though. That was very considerate of them. So while they're humoring him, one of the celebrants does kind of divert off from the rest of the group and just yanks a random cable out of the reactor.
Listen, all y'all, it's sabotage.
So Captain Fraddock then warns T'Pol about an incoming plasma storm. And T'Pol's like, yeah, we see it, and then tells everybody to start turning away from it after clearly not telling them to do it beforehand. But the storm seems to be following them, and it's angry. So it turns out that our saboteur was actually the Enterprise's savior. That cable that he yanked out of the reactor stopped a cascading effect after, I guess, some arc from the plasma storm hits the hull of the Enterprise and starts electrocuting everything.
So it's actually it's an antimatter cascade.
What does that mean?
So basically, the antimatter was not properly contained inside of its deliverance tube from the. See, now I'm a fucking warp engineer, basically. So the antideuterium's got to come from the tank over into the dilithium matrix, so it can get mixed in the mixture chamber. Well, for whatever reason, the containment in the conduits along that path were destabilized because of the storm, I guess. So instead of just smoothly going through those tubes, it was bouncing off the sides, and because it's antimatter and the conduits are made of because the conduits are made of matter, they would just react at contact and explode. So that's why what's his face's quote unquote sabotage was that he basically disconnected that conduit so that would stop. Now, I did wonder why they didn't detect that earlier, like
I feel like that would pop up on sensors.
Yeah, I can imagine that there are more than one conduit because you want that to be a steady flow. So if you have a problem, you need to replace one. That's fine. I get that. But like, you'd think the sensors would be like, hey, one of my vitally important tubes is disconnected. Does someone want to look at that?
Yeah, the other question that this brings up in my mind is if he just yanked that cable out, doesn't that mean that they're just spitting antimatter out into the engineering bay?
So
right.
I imagine, and this is me being benefit of the doubt, I imagine the failsafe on one of those tubes is like if it loses its connection, it immediately reverses, shuts down, stops, does some in some way, shape, or form secures that antimatter because you don't want a single piece of that flying into the cabin, right?
No, that would be bad. Trip winds up calling Archer down to engineering to show him the yanked cable, and they get Fraddock to check with his crew and passengers, but nobody is willing to own up to this, right? So that's when we meet Daniels for the first time.
Well, that's not true. We met him earlier in the episode when the captain was having num-nums.
Oh, that is true. Yep.
Maybe Daniels brought the fucking salt shaker from the future. Shit, I didn't think of
Daniels shows up to warn Archer about a possible Suliban spy. And it turns out Daniels is a member of the Time Police.
He's a crewman, too. He's like an enlisted guy. We were talking about them a few episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Like, we find out later on that he's been here for a while. Do you think do you think he actually went through the academy for Starfleet? Or do you think that they just forged all those documents and threw him onto a spaceship?
I was under the impression that he wasn't even, like, he was a later addition to the crew. Something Archer said made it sound like that they had picked him up like the last time they were at Earth. So I don't think he was necessarily like a day one Enterprise person.
So are they making like day trips back to Earth to refuel and refit like in between all their adventures then?
I imagine that they go back to Earth every once in a while. I mean, they'd have fresh food on this bitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I didn't think about that. So yeah, Daniels infers that he's more or less human, whatever that means.
He's very cagey about anything to do with the future.
Yeah. I kind of like. There's a bit later on that's pretty funny that touches back on that, but I do kind of like that about the way that they play his character.
Although, like, he said he was more or less human because didn't he say like that there was like my grandmother was a quarter something else, like some other race?
I didn't remember that.
Remember that.
I could be thinking of something else, but I thought that was the line he said. He's like, I'm more or less human. But yeah, my grandmother was a quarter such and so, Thalassian or whatever.
I don't recall.
But I could be wrong about that.
So he explains that he goes through the entire like backstory of the temporal accord and kind of delivers all of this in an information dump to Archer. He also warns him about Silic, who he thinks is the saboteur that saved Enterprise. So he convinces Archer to help him by telling him how he's always served him soft scrambled eggs.
Soft eggs equals trust, baby.
My note here is, you like your scrambled eggs soft. Have I ever brought them to you any other way? A, is that a threat? And B, what does soft mean in this context? Does he mean like runny? What is a soft scrambled egg?
No, you're just not hard, basically.
That doesn't, what does that mean?
Not overcooked, maybe?
Less cooked, I guess. Yeah, I mean...
So that's runny. Who calls them soft?
There's a difference, I think, between runny and soft. The soft is the in-between hard and runny.
I've literally never...
There's no scrambling involved with a runny egg either. Like, I think I kind of get what he's saying.
That's not necessarily true. You could have runny scrambled eggs. Like...
Yeah, you just don't overcook them.
That is more common in Europe. It's not common to the American palate, I would say.
What, runnier scrambled eggs?
Runnier eggs in general.
People don't know they're fucking... What do you mean runny eggs in general? Sunny side up is runny.
Dude, I love me some sunny side up eggs.
Like, that's the runniest. Like, after that, it's raw.
Gotta dip your toast.
Oh, so good.
Dippy. Yeah, dippy is an entire term here in Pennsylvania. Man, fucking...
those diner menus, they get pretty intricate.
Anyways, I didn't understand what soft meant, but it also sounded vaguely like, hey, I bring you your eggs in the morning so I could easily fucking kill you.
I mean, I didn't interpret it that way, but sure.
I could tell that's not what he meant, but I totally get where you're coming from, Stanford.
That's what it sounded. Also, so he's explained to Archer about the temporal Cold War and like the temporal accords and like the time stream and shit. And he's using this like holographic display that takes over the room and just shows a bunch of shit. Nothing in that display was useful. It was fucking bonkers. There was just lines going everywhere. There were like 14 colors and there was just there was not a single word. There were no letters anywhere. And Archer's looking at it all like, yeah, all right.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right there. Okay, I see.
Tuesday. I get it, yeah.
No, it's clearly one of those things where it's like, the actors were told like, no, don't worry, the special effects people are going to make this make sense. Yeah, and 100%. The actors are like, okay, no problem. So they do their thing. And then the special effects people are like, fucking do whatever we want, man. And it's fucking bananas.
Or like the creative director's like, nah, make it look crazy. I want this to be cool.
Look, in the future, infographics don't make sense.
It's like every time in an action movie where you have to watch somebody hack something. That's what this was. So Archer goes back to consult with Trip and T'Pol on his newfound discovery of Daniel's true person. They find the explanation a little unbelievable, right? And I feel like that's totally understandable. The whole thing sounds a little outlandish. Kind of like, Archer just saw some double rainbow or something and wanted to report back. Archer wants them to help Daniels regardless, though. And Trip and T'Pol, they're just kind of along for the ride. They're in on this. I do appreciate T'Pol's assessment of the situation, though. Like, none of this makes any goddamn sense.
Yeah, my note here was thank you, T'Pol. Fucking time travel.
Right. Like, why didn't he just go back one day further?
Yeah, she's like, if they can just travel through time, why didn't they just go back a little earlier and fix the problem? Did you ask him that, Captain Dewar?
Well,
Captain Dewar.
Cap gonna do what Cap gonna do.
It's true. So, meanwhile, Dr. Phlox has a really great visit with the celebrants, spends a lot of time in meditation with them. When he returns, Archer does question him, but Phlox says that he didn't notice anything off with any of them. The conversation that follows with Trip and Daniels is hilarious. I love, so this is what I was talking about earlier, right? I love that Daniels doesn't really have a brother. He is from a place called Illinois, but it depends on what you consider Earth in the future. Like, what does that mean?
It means it's like exactly what that holographic thing was. None of it makes sense.
Some writer thought that was the coolest little line. Like, that was so cool. And it's like that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, are you on Earth or not? Like, it's okay if Earth has changed. Say that. Like, you can say that.
Right. But, like, I still, like, I love Daniel's character. I love all of the little bits he gets in this episode. I love that, like, the very next thing he does is he puts on these, like, time brass knuckles and then starts teleporting around the engineering bay.
Punch myself through this wall.
Yeah.
Which,
it's
thing,
just so bizarre.
Man, I don't know what kind of technology is running that bitch, but it's real good. It knows when you have something in your hand, so it makes that go through the wall too. It lets you go through walls, but it makes sure that you don't fall through a deck. Like, it's an impressive piece of technology.
Mm-hmm. It is.
My question is, why didn't he just wear that the whole time? He never would have died. Everything would have passed through him.
Shut up. Anyways, what's next, Rob?
You know what else could have fixed this whole situation? As soon as Silic shows up, they could have just teleported him out of the spaceship.
No, we can't do that because... Anyways, what's next?
So Archer winds up going back to his cabin, and his little dog tries to warn him that there's an intruder in the room.
Yeah.
And turns out that the saboteur was indeed Silic. And
Porthos can bark.
See, you think he was warning him about Silic, but it was actually Tim. He'd fell down the well. So
also, does no one look after the captain's dog while the captain is busy? Because he comes back, he's like, "Oh no, I didn't feed you." Like, is there no one in charge of this dog? Like,
nope,
dude,
just
probably Daniels.
Trapped in windowless quarters.
Shit, it was Daniels. That's right. Daniels. I've always brought Porthos his kibble. Have I ever not done that?
So Silic tries to convince Archer that Daniels is the real threat, and then immediately pulls a gun on Archer.
I'm totally not the bad guy, I swear.
Right.
But I'm gonna shoot you now.
Yeah. So he forces Archer to take T'Pol's call, and then after he overhears that they're working with Daniels, Silic just knocks him out with a phaser and then heads off in search of Daniels.
And Porthos eats Archer's face.
Because he never got fed.
That's cats. That's fine.
Just cats.
Just cats, yeah.
Dr. Phlox gets to lead the celebrants in ritual. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, again, I really appreciate all the little like nuance they give to Phlox's character. It's pretty awesome. I like that they show him like struggle with it a little bit too, and then the celebrants are like, "No, you're doing a great job. Just here's the
these were, and it's such a counter, like a juxtaposition to like the Vulcan religious people we saw a few episodes ago, because they're like so rigid and asshole-ish about it. Whereas these people are like, no, you fucked up the prayer, but you're doing a good job. Like, we really appreciate you trying.
Also, they're like, we normally don't eat before we go to the plume, but fuck it. Let's feast, man.
I mean, we've been hungry as shit, so.
We've starved ourselves enough for the star. It's okay.
It's like, I'll starve myself in 10 more years. I'll be fine.
So Silic shows up in engineering, and Daniels orders everyone out. I love that this dude is just a completely random person at this point. He has lied about his entire past to these people, but they're willing to die for him, follow his orders to a T without question. They just bail, and then he ggets like fragged by Silic, right? Just immediately disintegrated.
Silic apparently had his phaser set to like 80s villain death. Because he explodes into a few pieces or some shit. It's really weird.
Like, it's weird. It takes 2 shots. The first shot is just like, ow, my shoulder. And then the second shot is, oh, I'm disintegrating.
The impression that I got was very much like the time shiftiness from like the time shifty rooms. So I wonder if there was some type of like that was supposed to be alluded to there, like he's like out of time.
Oh, baby. He's like not fully phased in.
I imagine he got like destabilized from time or some shit.
Interesting.
So is he dead? Question.
Oh, I hope not. I really liked his character. Archer confirms that Silic's still in the ship after a quick call of Fraddock, who, again, just does not care. This now begins...
That's just like, does everyone like they asked him at some point like for like detail about these people, and he's very much like, I'm not their fucking nanny. I don't know where they are. What are you taught? Like, I have one job and I'm doing it. Can you leave me alone?
This dude is basically an Uber driver, and Archer's like expecting him to behave like a professional military man.
I drive ship. Beep beep.
Beep beep. So this now marks the beginning of Star Trek Among Us, where they have to figure out where the imposter is.
Yeah.
Archer gets to play with the time knuckles that Daniels conveniently left behind. He finds Silic in a maintenance room, which is just it's like a box in the wall. It was very strange. We get a classic Star Trek physical altercation where trained military personnel flail about in a mostly harmless fashion.
Silic v. Archer, round 2, fight!
Archer blasts the time display that Silic was trying to steal. So it turns out that's what he was really looking for from Daniels. And Silic opens up the hangar bay doors and almost sucks Archer out into space. Like, I thought that was his original goal, was just trying to defeat Archer, right? Turns out he was using that as an escape hatch. He just jumps out into space and then, like, conveniently floats toward one of the little Voltron balls we saw in the first episode and makes his escape out into the ether.
Yeah, he existed in a vacuum for a very long time without dying.
The other thing that's confusing,
I mean, he's genetically modified, right? Like that's some crazy shit I can allow, I guess. I don't know.
Like, we're also very close to a star, and genetics doesn't play well with radiation.
It does if it's modified too.
I also question the gravity effects going on here, because he just like jumps out of the ship like it's an airplane and he just keeps going down. Like,
well, I mean, so that might work, because I mean his momentum would be preserved, right? So if the artificial gravity propelled him, accelerated him to a point, and then let's say he left the ship and the gravity's no longer affecting him, he wouldn't like slow down substantially. He would just continue falling.
I don't know, man. It seemed weird.
I just like, there's a couple parts in here where first of all, he got the jump on Archer because he was on the ceiling at one point. I don't know if y'all caught that, but like the tactic has no counter, so Archer just got his ass handed to him because he jumped down from the ceiling. But they suck the air out, and Scott Bakula does the worst acting job of like I'm being sucked out of a thing.
Let me slowly fall over this railing. Oh,
yeah,
no.
he loses the time knuckles because we can't have that perfect solution existing in the show.
Nope.
But then, like, after the air gets all sucked out, he's like, oh, okay, I'm good now. And Scott Bakula gets up and, like, wanders toward, I guess, a safe spot. But there's no fucking, like, there's no air. There was no air in there at that point. And, like,
no, it was totally decompressed.
Once he was inside the little safe room, like, I mean, he was a little hoarse, but he was fine. He was good. So, obviously, vacuum isn't that big of a deal.
Yep, that is the main lesson to take away from this.
Yep. So we cut back to Archer trying to figure out how to read his little clock thing that the celebrants gave him. And he's complaining about having to write a very lengthy report back to Starfleet on the whole situation. And then T'Pol offers to help him. Have we ever heard a captain's log where somebody helped? Does she mean just help write it or dictate as well?
I always was under the impression that the captain's log and the reports are different things. Because Travis writes a report for Terra Nova.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I like the captain's log are like the personal logs that the captain keeps, like, which is very like naval tradition kind of thing. But like the reports are like the paperwork they file back with home base, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this one's gonna take like 2 appendices.
We end the episode with Reed locking down Daniel's room. I think it's Daniel's room anyway. With what I can only assume, the top bed. Yeah. I can only assume, based off the blinking red lights and the beeping, that this was some sort of a trip mine.
I know it's a quarters boot device, right? Which my note here is, why is that a thing? Is it in case they have to like show the room when the guy's not home so they can have the key to it? Like, why does the ship have a specialty device to lock a crew quarter? That seems very bizarrely specific. And also, they're like, we're going to lock down his quarters because God knows what else is in there. Fucking ransack the place. Find out what's in there. Like, what are you talking about? More time knuckles? A bomb? Who fucking knows? Like,
he's just got a little black hole in a briefcase in there.
Shit, yeah, man. Just like, yeah. So no, we're gonna install the key box on there in case the realtor needs to open it up later. But otherwise, no one's allowed in there. Yeah, because it wasn't just Daniel's quarters. There was another crewman who was sharing the quarters with him. So that guy got reassigned.
Yeah, I don't know if you could tell or not, but this was a great episode. I really enjoyed this one.
I actually, so far, this has been my favorite. This has been the most like standard Star Trek episode so far.
Yeah, it was
like
good. I enjoyed it.
Good B plot that didn't really have anything to do with the A plot, but just kind of touched a little bit, but was interesting, and that's the whole Phlox thing and the celebrants. Despite the time travel bullshit, like, you know, a solid storyline with one little twist, and like it was good. It was a good episode.
This is like the first like kind of primary storyline like arc that they've retouched on since like the first episode, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a short break here, and we'll be back for our deep dive. Welcome back. We're going to jump into this week's deep dive, which is appropriately on time travel. But I decided to take a little bit of a different path here. I know you both are well-versed in my hatred of time travel as a story mechanism. So today I wanted to go over kind of like a history of time travel in Star Trek that I actually liked. All right. So starting with the original series of Star Trek, the first episode. So there was an early episode where some people were afflicted with like a time traveling disease, but I don't really want to include that one here because it didn't really stick out to me in like my recollection of cool like time travel scenarios with Star Trek. The one I think of in the original series most is Tomorrow is Yesterday. So in this episode, have you guys seen much of the original series? I forget if you guys.
I have seen like 3 episodes. I've seen the Gorn episode, the the Khan episode, the pilot, and the one where there's the entity that wants the Enterprise people to fight and they beam the Klingons up, and then the entity turns all their phasers into like melee weapons and they duke it out in the hallways. Those are the only episodes I've seen, if I can like it that I can remember.
What about you?
Is it Plato's Stepchildren? The Greek one with the interracial kiss.
Yeah.
I've seen that one too.
What about you, Chris?
I have not seen many.
Okay. So the one that sticks out to me the most from the original series was an episode called Tomorrow is Yesterday. And in that episode, essentially they wind up coming across a stellar body called a black star. So I don't know if this is still considered a scientific possibility, but at one point this was presented as like a theoretical alternative to a black hole. So it avoids the need of a singularity by just saying that it is like a fully like still massive object, but also still made up of normal matter and not collapsed in on itself. And basically this thing just like slingshots them back into the 1960s, which is conveniently when the show was airing. So they wind up back in 1960s Earth. They get spotted by a fighter pilot. They think that the fighter is like trying to attack the Enterprise. So they lock it in a tractor beam, which just immediately shreds the jet to pieces, right? But they manage to get the pilot back on board safely with the transporter, and like just shenanigans ensue, right? Like they wind up trying to hide the fact that they were back in the 1960s by like going down onto the surface to remove some recordings that they found out the jet had captured of them. But while they're there, they wind up accidentally transporting a security officer back with them. Like it's a mess. It is a whole mess.
What kind of Hanna-Barbera shenanigans are we fucking talking about here?
Yeah,
what is happening?
It's such a great episode. I really love this episode. And it's one of the ones that like, I don't go back and watch the original series a whole lot, but I remember when I was a kid really loving this one. And the funny thing is they wind up getting back home by slingshotting them around the sun, which is going to come back into play in a minute here, because number 2 for me, and I know you guys have seen this.
Is that the episode where they do that? The sun slingshot maneuver?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Because they referenced that they did that in the 4th movie, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah.
So that's my next favorite on the list here is Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Yeah.
I really like this movie. I know that it's campy, but it holds a special place in my heart.
It's a good movie. It is a lot. It's fun. It's definitely also different than a lot of the original series Star Trek movies. You referenced this when we talked about kind of tier listing the movies, but there's not really any fight scenes. Like there's one scene where he's like running away, and that's about the closest to conflict there is in this, like physical conflict there is in that movie. So just a much different feel, and it was a good movie.
Yeah, it's almost more of like a cosmic horror set piece, because like the whole being shows up and is threatening to destroy the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to figure out a way to save the whales. Next up, Next Generation. I think this one was early on, maybe like season 2 or so. Time Squared. Do you remember the episode where Picard finds future Picard in a shuttle?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually,
fuck no. What?
I watched this not that long ago.
So they find this like sentient energy vortex along their travels.
Of course.
And sure.
It's a Tuesday, sure.
Right. So like while they're investigating this part of, actually I don't think they saw the vortex. The vortex kind of comes upon them after they find this shuttlecraft. When they open up the shuttlecraft though, they see Picard inside. And the whole episode is basically like that Picard is like super loopy, right? Like he's completely out of it because he's so far away from like where he's supposed to be in time and space. So the closer they get to it, the more coherent he gets, and he kind of like can recall parts of the story. But my favorite part of this episode is they're like loading future Picard back on because he's like, I gotta go back to my time. I gotta fly this thing back into the vortex. He's like, there is another option, but it'll never work. Picard, like present Picard, is then like thinking like, what's the solution that might actually work? I don't understand. And then like he seems to just suddenly realize like what the problem is. So he turns around and then he shoots future Picard with a phaser. And then like he's like, no, the only answer is we have to plunge the Enterprise into the vortex at full speed and like keep it on track. And it totally works. Like they wind up blasting through the vortex and wind up back in normal space. It's a super weird episode.
That was good though. I did enjoy that episode.
Wow, I don't remember that one at all. Shit.
Yeah. 2 Picards. Next one is also Next Generation. All Good Things. This is the series finale. And Stanford, I know you already hate this episode because it's mostly Q.
It's mostly cute. So it was all right. It was a fairly okay wrap to the show. Q's just being a dick the whole time, but like whatever. I actually thought I remember this episode because it's the one where like there's the anomaly in space that is going backwards in time, and like I found it so fucking frustrating how long it took Picard to realize that that thing was going backwards in time, because there was like repeated dialogue of him being like, why was it bigger back in the past? I don't understand. It's like, Jesus, man, this is not that hard to figure out. Like,
he is here to lead, not to read.
Yeah, it's like you've got fucking 5 or 6 seasons of Captain Picard being a very intelligent, like problem-solving person, and he can't figure out why the anomaly is super big way in the past, but it's small in the like future. Like,
I mean,
that's not.
He's also like his mind isn't really given any rest here. Like he's teleporting randomly between 3 different time periods. I don't know that my mind would be thinking 100% straight in that situation either.
Well, he needs to knock it off. Fucking hell, man. But that's the one where Riker shows up in like the Enterprise D, but they threw an extra nacelle on it, which is so dumb. It's dumb because like I don't think that would actually do anything, because as we discussed what nacelles actually accomplish, like okay, man, whatever.
It's a backup for when they get one blown off in combat.
Yeah, it's like the 757 Enterprise or whatever.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So after that, there are 2 Star Trek movies, or Next Generation movies anyway. One was Generations, which I really liked.
Well, that one doesn't go back in time at all. Wait, I guess it does.
They wind up going through the energy ribbon.
Right at the end, they kind of mess with time a little bit, because they go back, because the sun gets blown up, then Picard goes into the ribbon with Malcolm McDowell, and then he meets Kirk, and then they show back up in the real world after Guinan tells him what to do, to right before Malcolm McDowell blows up the sun. So I guess that's like a pretty, like he travels in time like a total of 20 minutes. It's not like a lot.
I have in my notes here. It's just, you mean we can have Kirk and Picard?
Capard.
There is a moment in that movie when that happens too, because like Picard and Malcolm McDowell fight, and then Malcolm McDowell is successful, right? But there's a sequence where like Malcolm McDowell doesn't realize that Picard is inside his little shield. And then like, he's like standing on the bridge, like fucking with his garage door opener. And then he looks up and Picard's just there. And then they just have like old white guy fight. And then he succeeds. Picard goes and meets Kirk, and he convinces Kirk to come back with him. And so that it cuts back to that moment where Malcolm McDowell is fucking with the garage door opener, and he looks up, and instead of Picard, it's Kirk. And Malcolm McDowell's like, who are you? This random dude just showed up.
I also really liked First Contact. That's the one where the Borg go back in time to try and stop humanity from like meeting the Vulcans, essentially.
Oh, so good.
I liked the show. The time travel element was, the show. I liked the movie. The time travel element, once again, was one of those like, well, that's dumb. Like, because like the Enterprise is just like, oh, okay, we can just kind of travel through time at will now at the end of that, which is like, isn't what, like, no, that's a problem. I hope we never, like, why don't you just do that forever from now on? And then they never use it again.
Reasons. So jumping forward a little bit here and now, Deep Space Nine. So there were 2 Deep Space Nine episodes that involved time travel that I remembered really liking. One was Little Green Men. This is the one where Quark winds up being the Roswell incident.
Yeah, that was actually a really fun episode.
That was a good one. Yeah.
And then the other one, I don't know how either of you is going to feel about this, but just from like a cinematography standpoint, this episode is incredible. Trials and Tribulations.
I am very aware of that episode.
It's so good.
That one's actually pretty fun.
It is a cool, fun episode with lots of like self-referencing, deprecating like jokes, and it's just a good time all around.
Yeah. This is the one where like Worf acknowledges the fact that Klingons don't look the same.
Right. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
Which keeps them canon. Although there is actually another DS9 episode where they go back in time because, and this is where it's like, oh, I guess in Star Trek they don't have facial recognition software because Cisco goes back in time to like the 2010 or something, where like there's like the poor people live in the shitty part of town and there's like a riot and he leads the riot and he's like a famous like hero. And then they have pictures of him in the database, and later he's like on DS9 looking kind of embarrassed because his picture's in this like historical database. Right. But it's also like, once time travel is established to be a possibility, do you think like, shouldn't Starfleet just comb everything with facial recognition software to find out which of their officers fucked around in time?
Right. But like, so part of me worries about that because even today, people have doppelgangers and there are humans that look remarkably similar to other humans. Oh yeah. Like
there's like fake it. There's like a Keanu Reeves doppelganger from like the 1800s or some shit.
That's wild. So yeah, I went back, I like dug into this one a little more because I remembered this episode while I was researching like time travel in Star Trek. I forgot at the end of the episode, Cisco's talking to like the time cops that show up and he's like, also, I went back and got Kirk's signature. I'm not sorry about it. You can write me up if you want to, but I did that. And the one time cop is like, yeah, I would have done that too. We're not going to hold it against you.
I like how he's like, I guess I'll take the minor misdemeanor of fucking around with time. Like,
right.
You'd think that'd be a bigger infraction.
It's so good. So there are also 2 episodes of Voyager. These are both very early on, so I actually remembered these ones. This was before I quit watching, shortly thereafter, I'm sure. One was episode 2, Parallax. This is where the crew finds another ship caught in a quantum singularity, and turns out that it's Voyager. And then episode 3, the very next episode, Time and Again. This is the one where Janeway and Paris get stuck in a temporal anomaly after tracking down, they called it a polaric detonation on a nearby planet. I don't really know what that means. I don't remember the episode all that well. But they get sent back in time, and then they have the moral dilemma where they have to, like, they have the option to stop the explosion from happening in the first place and essentially save the local populace that was completely unaware of what was happening. Yeah. And Janeway does it, which surprised me.
Yeah. Janeway's got her shit in one bag, man.
Like, she's not the captain I would have expected to do that.
Yeah, she's got a very strong moral compass.
Yeah, I guess so.
But the
Except when it comes to Tuvix.
yeah, all right. There is a either 2 or maybe even 3-parter Voyager episode called Year of Hell, which is about a guy. This is actually cool. A guy in an alien race that Voyager happens to be kind of traveling through their space, has invented a device that will like remove planets from time, and the time stream will basically adjust itself around it, right? So his wife dies of some kind of disease or something that was like able to be prevented like a couple years after her death. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. His wife gets erased by the time thing that he created in an accident. Okay. And so he is on a mission to get the timeline to be back to the way it was so that his wife will show back up. So they're going around like this system and time wiping these planets in accordance with like a computer model of how that'll change the timeline, hoping to get it back to what like he thinks is normal, right? Well, Voyager shows up in the middle of this process. So the beginning of the episode starts with like Voyager meeting like some punk little like scout like guard ship, and they're like, nah, we don't want you coming through our space. And Janeway's like, do you see this big ass ship I've got here? Fuck you. We need to go through. And then the time wipe like waves over them, and the ship is suddenly like twice as big as the Voyager. And
oh no,
they don't know. They're now acting as if this was always the case. And Janeway's like, we really got to get through this space. We're going to have to be very, very careful because these people are clearly very technologically advanced. So it's like this kind of weird thing where you get this Star Trek series like of episodes where the Voyager crew is not the ones doing the time traveling. So they're not the ones who are aware. And like, the Voyager gets all fucked up, and like they end up losing like several conflicts, and they end up sacrificing the Voyager. But because they like blow up the time ship, it like resets everything. So like it's okay, but like it's a good set. It's probably one of the better bits of like storytelling throughout the series.
Interesting.
Yeah, when you said, episodes of your favorite time travel with Star Trek, that is the first and only one I thought of.
Well, I've got 2 more here. So one is Discovery. So I know Discovery is basically Star Trek time travel. Like that's kind of the whole show after a point, right? But my favorite episode in that whole series is Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. It's Harry Mudd. I love that episode where it's just who's the science officer? What is his name? The one who winds up taking the place. No. The one who winds up taking the place of the water bear.
Stamets?
That's it. Yeah. So this is the one where he's immune to all of this because he's like inhaled all the mushrooms or whatever. And he's trying to like get everybody to like behave, and they're just stuck in Groundhog's Day over and over and over again.
Oh, the Mud episode. Yes. Yeah. With Rainn Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun.
He was such a great pick for that character, man. He did a great job. And then the last is Kelvin Timeline, Leonard Nimoy coming back as Spock, like Ambassador Spock. That was pretty cool. I know it was probably like thrown in there as fan service, but it was really cool to see him again. Anyway.
I thought, what? Well, I mean, so like you say like Leonard Nimoy as Spock, but like the whole first movie was about time travel, right?
Yeah.
Because like it was that whole thing with going back in time in order to kill Kirk, basically, because that guy was an asshole.
Yeah. I really enjoy the new Kelvin Timeline movies. I have a lot of fun with them. But yeah, that wraps up my timeline trip here. Do you guys have any that you'd like to add aside from that one from Voyager?
And we're not including like the Discoveries, like the entire show going into the future.
Right.
You know that happens, right?
No,
Rob?
yes. So
Okay.
I that's the part where I left off on Discovery. I need to start
Right.
up that series again. But yeah, I saw that they got to future Earth, and then they showed up, and Earth is like, "Who are you guys?"
Yeah. There's a series of episodes in, and maybe it should be one episode in Enterprise. They don't really go back in time though. They just talk about some Vulcans that are back in time, and T'Pol plays the role of like the actress who plays T'Pol plays the role of one of those Vulcans. But I don't think it's actually T'Pol. I think it's like a historical document kind of thing, you know?
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, we're gonna take another break here and come back with Chris and some potpourri.
Welcome back, everybody. It is time for our potpourri segment. In this episode, I will be doing some trivia, some time travel related trivia, actually.
Oh God, because we famously have already done. So the problem is that like I've been editing these over the last couple weeks, so it is fresh in my mind how bad we did at the trivia last time.
I'm gonna start you off with some gimmies, so at least you get a couple before we go on.
Okay.
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
One of the most classic time loop movies of all time is Groundhog's Day. It features an egotistical and self-centered reporter who is stuck reliving Groundhog Day over and over again, infinitely. What actor played the role of Phil Connors, the main character?
Is this just like just to say the answer kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Bill Murray.
Bill Murray is correct. See, I told you I'd give you some easy ones to start out with.
That movie is so fucking problematic when you think about it from the ladies' perspective.
Any movie Bill Murray is in from that time period is problematic for the ladies' perspective.
You're not wrong. But there's also this level of like, ooh, that's some grade A gaslighting right there. Ooh, fuck.
Yes, indeed. All right, question 2. In the movie Star Trek First Contact, which enemy faction travels back in time to take over the Earth?
Borg.
Yeah.
See, I told you. Easy ones right off the bat. All right. Question 3. What is not one of the skills that Phil Connors learned during his time reliving Groundhog's Day?
Are there multiple choice, or do I just have to guess a skill he didn't learn?
Oh, God. I haven't seen this movie in so long.
Wait. Is there a list?
There is not a list. But yes, you are correct, actually. It is to be a chef.
Yeah.
Wait. There's so many. He didn't learn Portuguese either. Like, what are we doing here?
Like, they specifically call that out at points in the movie, though.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I see. Oh, so which did he notably? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I didn't realize that they had specifically said that.
Mm-hmm.
Like replaying that whole movie in my head, which is weird because I'm replaying Groundhog's Day in my head.
I don't know if you're aware, by the way, that like the writers of the movie have said that they estimate that he lived that day like for hundreds of years, like 300 years or whatever, which like I want to see the movie that's the next day where he is completely incapable of understanding the world whatsoever.
All right. Donnie Darko is the mesmerizing story of a young man who is visited by a mysterious time traveler in a demonic-looking bunny suit. During which decade does the film take place?
The 90s.
I believe it's the 80s, right?
Stanford, you are correct. It is the 80s.
Yeah.
It's weeks before the U.S. presidential election that saw old H-dubs victorious.
That's right. Yes. It's 82 or 88 or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, Back to the Future trilogy follows the adventures of Marty McFly and his eccentric scientist friend, Dr. McBrown. In which of these movies did Marty jeopardize the timeline with a book?
With a book?
Mm-hmm. It's the only one where he actually did fuck with the timeline. Well, I mean, technically he did with all of them, but like...
I was going to say...
But like...
More than just his own family.
Yeah, more than just making his dad a loser. Although that happens again anyways. Yes, I am aware of which one it is, Rob, if you want to give it a guess. There's only 3 of them, so you're like a fucking 33% chance.
I'm going to guess number 2.
That is correct.
You got it.
The
Yep.
book was a sports almanac for the years 1950 through 2000. He happened upon it while at a secondhand store, and after he purchased the book, Doc took it and threw it away from him, and old Biff Tannen dug it out of the trash. Made a whole lot of money on bets.
Yeah, that's what Biff Tannen, in that movie, clearly, Leo. Oh my God, my cat. Biff Tannen, clearly a Donald Trump.
Very much so. Number 6. I'm not familiar with this one, but I'll ask it anyway. A man starts a conversation on his father's old CB radio, changing the future in the process.
What's the name of the movie?
Yeah, what's the movie?
Wavelength.
Close.
Is it
Waveform?
Frequency.
Frequency?
Oh.
Shit. Sorry. Yep. It's Frequency. Shit. Yes. Yeah. That's got oh God, what's that actor's name? God, he was in everything back then. I actually saw that shit in the theater. He gets his neighbor to invest in Yahoo.
Nice.
And this was back when Yahoo was like big, right before Google destroyed it. So like, if you watch that movie now and you're like, invest in Yahoo, now it's terrible advice.
Yeah.
All right. In the original Back to the Future, what successful job does George McFly end up with thanks to his son Marty's interference?
He's an author, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Because he does the spaceman
Darth
one.
Vader thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What event in U.S. history is the USS Nimitz sent back to witness in the 1980 movie, The Final Countdown?
It's the final
I'm
countdown.
glad we're all on the same page here. I don't know. I don't think I ever saw that movie.
What? Sorry, repeat the question.
What event in U.S. history is the USS Nimitz sent back to witness in the 1980 movie, The Final Countdown?
Jesus Christ. I don't know. I was thinking like Philadelphia Experiment, but they go forward in time. God, if I had to guess, I would say one of the atomic bombs.
You're not far off. It's the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
A United States aircraft carrier encounters a strange fog and is transported to a time just before the attack on Pearl Harbor. The crew encounters a 40-style music on the radio, a Japanese Zero Scout plane, and the Pacific Fleet, including the Arizona, still safe in Honolulu. All right. In the 1984 film, The Terminator, how many human beings are depicted traveling through time?
3.
In the first one, just one.
Just one is correct.
Yeah, it's John Connor.
While 2 individuals travel back in time, one is just a cyborg. The other is, a dude. All right, let's see.
Some guy.
It's John Connor.
Not correct.
That not his name?
That is not his name.
Oh, is that the kid's name in the second movie?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
For the time jump in this movie, the characters have to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. What's the movie? I have not seen this movie.
Bridge Jumpers.
For the time jump in this movie,
the characters
have to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yep.
I don't know it. I'm gonna go ahead and guess the only time movie that is famous that I have not seen, which is Time Cop.
No, Kate and Leopold.
Oh, I remember that movie coming. That's not that long. That was not that long ago. That must, yeah. But I have not seen it. That's a rom-com, if I recall.
I believe so. Yes. All right. The Last Day of Summer is a 2007 film which tells the story of an 11-year-old boy who relives the last day of summer over and over again. What is the protagonist's name?
Fuck if I know. Never even heard of this movie.
Reminiscent of a Jedi Master who may have had a cool hand.
Is it Luke?
Cool.
Yes, it's
Anakin?
Luke. Oh. Cool hand, Luke. Go on. What is the name of the person sent back in time to protect Sarah Connor from the T-800 in The Terminator?
I like how I was wondering why you were so rapid fire with knowing that it wasn't John Connor. Fuck, I guess I don't remember that guy's name.
I honestly had no idea this was his name, so.
What's his name?
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese. Yeah, I would.
That sounds like a name I've heard, so yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
All right.
Apparently, I need to rewatch these movies.
In the original Back to the Future, exactly how many years back in time does Marty McFly travel?
The original Back to the Future.
I just had a whole discussion with somebody about this, so I do know this. So I'll let you go, Rob.
Dude, I would do the math, but I don't even remember what year the movie was set to take place in.
1985.
30.
Yeah, there you go.
Bingo. 30 years.
Yep, 1955.
Yep. All right. Here's a gimme for you guys. Through Nemesis, how many Star Trek films have dealt with the time travel?
Have dealt with the time travel.
That was a slip by me. It is just
so
dealt with
let
time
me
travel.
ask you: does Generations count? Because again, we had just talked about how there wasn't really time travel in there, except for like a few minutes.
I will say yes.
Okay. So
what about the Kelvin timeline? Are we including those?
Well, he said through Nemesis, right?
Correct.
Oh, through Nemesis. Okay.
So 1, 2, 3.
Is that your answer?
I think it might just be 3. I kept trying to think of that, like
Three is correct.
Oh, okay, shit.
Yep. Just those 3. Let's see. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt starred in a film where aliens have invaded Earth and humanity
such a
is
good
trying
movie.
to win back the planet. Cruise's character keeps dying and then we're leaving the same day. The film is called what?
Do you want the original title or the one they changed it to?
The one that it, released under.
Okay. It released like theatrically.
Yes.
Okay, because when it went to streaming and DVD, they changed the title.
Oh, I didn't know
Did
that.
they?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know that I know the release then.
What do you think it is?
Is this the day after tomorrow?
Close.
So you're thinking The Edge of Tomorrow
Or
is
Edge
what
of
they
Tomorrow, okay.
was
Edge
what
of
they
Tomorrow
pushed
is
it
correct.
to theater. They retitled it Live Die Repeat.
That's
so if you
a
actually
fucking
if you
terrible title.
Oh no, it's a fantastic title. It's a much better title because Edge of Tomorrow sounds too philosophical. Live Die
Sounds very
Repeat.
prolific.
Yes, exactly. Live Die Repeat makes it is a better feel for the actual material, and the source material is a manga by the title of All You Need Is Kill, because it's
Interesting. Did not
Japanese. Yeah.
know that. All right. Just a few more. In the movie X-Men Days of Future Past, which character is sent back in time to prevent an assassination?
I'll let Rob go.
Wolverine?
Wolverine is correct.
Although his brain is sent back in time.
What real-life president is shown in the movie Contact?
What real life president is shown in the movie Contact? It's got to be Clinton, right?
Ford.
Because
Clinton is correct.
yeah, it was out because I saw that in the theater too, so it must have been during Clinton's.
The footage of Bill Clinton is taken from a real press conference regarding discovery of a meteorite found in the Arctic,
Yes.
believed to be from Mars.
Yes, and I actually just heard a whole episode of a podcast about that specific meteor.
In The Time Machine, Alexander Hartigan constructs a time machine of his own. When his fiancée Emma is killed, he tries to go back in time to save her. When his effort proves fruitless, he travels forward, ultimately landing 800,000 years in the future. There, Alexander befriends a race of people who are peaceful and live off the earth. What are these people called?
I knew that was going to be your question too. God damn it. Fucking hell. There are 2 of them. There's the evil ones and the good ones.
Yeah.
The one of them is it's like Marlock.
So, the first one of these people that Alexander meets is called Mara. That's her name.
Okay. Psylocke? I feel like Locke is the back end of it.
The answer to this, Rob, unless you have a guess.
I have no idea.
I don't know the exact pronunciation of this because I don't think I ever saw this movie, but Eloy?
The Eloy, yes, the Eloy. Those were the good ones, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the bad ones are called something that ends in a hard consonant. Do you not have that answer in front of you?
I do not.
Time machine bad guys.
Like, is it bad that the only reason I know those
Morlock.
is Big Bang
Fucking
Theory?
A, man. They're called the Morlocks.
You're close. All right. Second to last, we'll say. A World War II anti-radar experiment causes a naval ship to disappear in Virginia, throwing 2 of the sailors into the future.
I just mentioned this movie.
You did.
What?
What is the title of that movie?
Yes.
Virginia.
No, it's
I don't know.
it's the Philadelphia experiment.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
believe the
Oh.
ship was called the Philadelphia.
I watched that movie. The only thing I remember that from that movie is when he's in the urinal and he's like, "I'm peeing green."
Yeah, it's a weird movie.
Yeah. Let's see here.
I'm a little disappointed that we haven't had like a Looper question or a Primer question.
What's the one with like the weird like elephant octopi people? So like they're time travelers that like came back into the past to get the humans to help them in the future or something.
So the only elephant octopi people thing I can even think of off the top of my head is in a book called Footfall, but they're just aliens. They're not like traveling through time. But I don't think there was ever a movie.
Yeah, the only Looper-centric question was a brief description of Looper and what is the name of the movie. And I thought that was too easy.
Right.
All right. In which Austin Powers film does Austin travel back to 1969 after his mojo is stolen from his frozen body?
Well, it's not the first one.
Hold on. I'm trying to remember. It's got to be... Wait. No. Is it? It's the third one, right? No, it had to be the second one.
What is the name of it?
The second one? The Spy Who Shagged Me?
That is correct. The Spy Who Shagged Me.
I was trying to remember because he goes back in. Does he goes back in time in the third one too, right? Because he goes back in time to find Goldmember at that club.
Yeah, I think that's right. The Spy Who Shagged Me was the second film in the Austin Powers comedy film franchise. In the year 1999, Dr. Evil travels back in time to 1969, a nice 30 years. That seems to be the going time frame, where he sends his henchman, Fat Bastard, to steal the mojo from a still frozen Austin Powers.
Yes, that's right.
All right, we'll do one more. Let me find a good one. This is just a big, long list of time travel trivia questions. So
That's such a specific genre of question.
It is.
The internet has everything. What can you say?
Oh, I remember the name of the movie I was thinking of. Arrival. It's got Jeremy Renner in it. That was really good.
What the fuck? Oh.
If you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
God, no,
It's really
I
good.
hated that movie. Fucking hell, that
What?
movie was so
No.
bad. No. That movie, what did I say that movie was? Oh man, I was like, take the first half of Close Encounters and the back half of something else, and you've got that dumb fuck movie. No, that movie was so overhyped that I had so
Okay.
it was not I did not care for it.
All right, I've got two more. One is from this
Okay.
list, and one is my own.
Okay.
In the movie Interstellar, what object does Joseph Cooper interact with from within the Tesseract to communicate with his daughter in the past?
Good one.
Oh.
Ooh, actually there's two.
Was it a watch? I think it was a watch.
It was a wristwatch, yes.
Yeah.
However, he also pushed books off the shelf.
That is true. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
All right, and then mine is, in what show does the main character in one of the episodes in a time loop begin his day eating oatmeal?
Is it oatmeal?
It is oatmeal.
Oh, yeah. Rob, if it's any help, the other main character in this episode gets hit by a door at the beginning of this loop.
What?
I know you've seen it. We've talked about this episode.
It's a great episode.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
It is Stargate SG-1.
That is correct.
Oh.
That is a
Oh,
fantastic.
God.
There's this, because there's this part because it's him and Teal'c,
Yeah.
and Anderson is like, he's like, the worst part about this time loop is that I start every single time loop listening to Daniels, and I cannot for the life of me remember what he is talking about, but he wants my input on something. So just sitting there, and then he was like, I can't imagine anything worse. And Teal'c goes, neither can I. And then it cuts to like what Teal'c goes through at the beginning of the time loop, and he immediately gets hit by a door because he like someone opens a door into his face at the beginning of every time loop.
That's so good.
Oh my god, he was such a great character, man.
He had his moments. Sometimes the bit was a little too much, but every once in a while it was good. It was good.
Yeah,
and like there was the part where they found the other ring, and Daniels is trying to explain like why he thinks there's another ring on Earth, and so he's like ramping up to his point, and he's like, and it's like, you know, we treat the rings like they're dialing a phone number. And he points at Teal'c and he goes, what happens when you dial your own phone number? Wrong person to ask. And he goes to the next person. It's like, what happens when, and Teal'c just kind of looks very confused.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I input one other really great time travel episode?
Okay.
Do you remember, so it was one of the Trickster episodes of Supernatural.
I've never watched Supernatural.
Okay.
Really?
Stanford,
man, I'm surprised.
You've seen this one. It's the one where Dean just keeps dying over and over again.
Yeah.
But like Sam's trying to save him. Like at one point, they literally drop the piano on him. Like they drop the grand piano on the character.
Yeah. That's one of the Gabriel episodes.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog's Day, except that like Dean dies in comical ways every day. That's the Pig and a Poke episode.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. All right. Well, we did a lot better on that one.
You did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you did a lot better.
Chris is tuning his like trivia game for us.
Difficulty level, yeah.
If you've never seen a movie called Primer, a fantastic time travel movie. Probably the best one I've ever seen.
Let's check it out.
So, well, that's definitely going to do us for the evening, though. This episode might be a little long, but hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. Like I said at the top, make sure you are, if you can spare the time, we would very much appreciate a rate and a review. Especially if you like the show, or even if you don't, we'll take a 5-star rating out of you. I don't care. Apple Podcasts and Spotify is where you can go rate us. Apparently that matters. We are all very new at this. So like, I don't know, I listen to a lot of podcasts and they all say that shit. So it must be important. And hopefully we can get some more ears on this. And you know, come talk at us on Twitter and our email, because we're lonely. We need some people to talk to. But I think that'll do us for the night. So good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Captain's Log Supplemental. You can follow us on Twitter at PodCLS or send us hate mail at podcls3@gmail.com.